man is transported to another world as a helpless infant, only to discover that he possesses extraordinary magical powers in a time when magic has yet to be uncovered. In this unfamiliar world, nothing is as it seems, and it's with no memory of his previous life and trapped in the body of a newborn, he begins to realize that he holds the key to unimaginable abilities. Yet this world is not ready for magic, a power that could change everything. In the first episode of the anime begins with a young girl named Marie, who is waiting for her parents at the door of their house because they're returning from a trip. When she sees them, Marie runs to them, excited to see them, and they greet her warmly. They ask if she got tired of being alone, and she replies that Rose was with her, so she didn't feel lonely. Then her mom introduces her to her little brother, Xian. When Marie sees him, she gets really happy because he's so small and cute. 3 years later, Marie and Xian have grown up a little, and we see Marie playing in the yard with Xian. She wins a race against him, and just then, their dad arrives home from work. Marie and Xian greet him, and their dad tells them that Marie is full of energy and that Xian is trustworthy. Marie tells him that Xian actually helps their mom around the house and never wets his bed. Sometimes he gets anxious like an adult, trying to do things she doesn't know about. At dinner that night, Xian asks their dad if monsters really exist. Their dad says they do exist, and because of that, Xian shouldn't leave the castle. He's sure their mom told him not to do that, because monsters are very dangerous and attack people. If anyone sees one, they should ask an adult for help. Xian then asks about fairies and spirits, and his dad says he doesn't know about any spirits, but fairies do exist, though they're very rare, so it's unlikely he'll encounter one. Some merchants specialize in bringing them, though. Xian asks one last question about magic and whether it exists in their world. His dad doesn't understand and asks him to explain what he means. Xian talks about fire, water, air, and light magic, saying he can create many things from nothing. His dad is confused, though, since he's never heard of magic like Xian describes. Even though their dad is very knowledgeable, he doesn't know anything about magic. He then asks where Xian learned about monsters, fairies, and magic, but Xian doesn't answer. Marie changes the subject because she notices Xian looks a little pale. 3 years later, Marie has grown up more and learned a lot of fighting. After finishing her training, she sits down to rest next to Xian. He asks her why she trains so much, and she replies that she's the older sister and, just in case anything happens, like monsters appearing or something similar, she needs to be ready to fight to protect them at home. Even though the training is really tough, she loves it. She wasn't very smart, but she's really good at physical things. At night, Marie and her friend Rose head to the lake. Marie has been training a lot, and Rose is amazed because she's been doing this all day without feeling bored. Marie asks Rose to spar with her, but Rose refuses because she's tired from helping her grandfather. Rose then asks her about Xian, her little brother, wondering why he's always so isolated at home, spending all his time studying. Marie replies that she doesn't know why her brother acts that way. Suddenly, tiny glowing orbs appear in the air above the lake. Marie and Rose are both amazed by what they see. Marie decides to take Xian to see what happened. So the next day, she takes him to the lake. Xian is very worried because their mom told them not to stray too far from home. Marie reassures him, telling him not to worry and that there are no monsters around. When they arrive at the lake, Xian tells his sister that their mom will be really mad at them for going so far from home. Marie acknowledges that, but she says the glowing orbs are worth the trouble. While they're talking, the orbs appear again and they're both in awe of them. Xian asks her if their parents know about this, and Marie replies that they do. She brought them to the lake the first time she saw them, but something strange happened. They couldn't see the orbs. Marie was a bit worried that Xian couldn't see them either. She wondered if only adults couldn't see them, or if some children couldn't see them either. The orbs blinked and disappeared for her, but some children saw the full lights. Xian thinks about what she said, considering that the orbs might be related to magic. Marie continues, explaining that magic creates light, and that could be the case here. Afterward, they head home, and Xian thanks his sister for taking him to such a beautiful place. The next morning, Xian and Marie have breakfast together and hurry to the lake. They prepare to spend the day there until sunset. But Xian feels really tired because he hasn't trained enough, and his body is very weak. Marie tells him that he doesn't train enough, which is why his endurance is so low. She assures him there's still plenty of time before sunset, and they want to do something. Xian replies that he wants to investigate the lake. He wants to know where the glowing orbs come from and whether they're linked to something living in the lake. If they don't investigate properly, they'll never find out exactly what those orbs are. Marie responds, saying, "I don't understand, but if you say so, it must be true." Xian then tells her, First, let's fill these 3 buckets with water from the lake. We'll put sand and rocks in one, aquatic plants in another, and fish in the last one. Mari does what Xian asks, and then they start fishing. However, Mari feels sad because they haven't caught anything. Xian comforts her, saying, I was just thinking about how happy I am to have you with me. And he thanks her for always doing everything with him. Mari replies, I'm free and I insisted on doing this. It's natural for me to help you with it. If something like magic exists, I want to see it too. Xian tells her, that's why we're here. It would be wonderful if magic existed. If it does, you'll be the first to know. Suddenly, the fishing rod catches a fish, and Mari quickly pulls it out. It's an eaten trout. Rose arrives and asks what they're doing here, and Mari introduces them to each other. Mari says, we're fishing. Rose then asks Xian, can you see the glowing orbs? It's a strange phenomenon, don't you think? But it's so interesting. You came here because you want to know more about the glowing orbs. Mari answers, they're so beautiful that sometimes I come just to see them. Xian then asks Rose if she knows where the glowing orbs come from. Rose replies, no, I just enjoy looking at them. At night, the orbs appear again, emerging from the lake. Xian and Mari then descend into the lake to discover what's there. The glowing orbs start to come out, and when Xian touches them, they feel warm and ticklish. He places his face near the water, but it's so dark that he can't see anything. The glowing orbs are coming from something that lives beneath the water. It's not a plant. I think it's a creature that moves, because the spots from which the light comes are shifting. But I don't know what kind of creature does that. Afterward, Xian thanks Mari for helping him. She replies, we're family, we don't need to thank each other for every little thing later. Rose comes over with another fish and eaten trout female. Mari and Xian are both surprised. Mari says, it's common to catch the males, but the females are usually in deeper water. But since it's the breeding season, they swim into shallower waters. I heard that many people fish for them. After that, they place the fish in the buckets, and suddenly glowing orbs start to emerge from them. Xian explains, this is courtship behavior. The glowing orbs are part of the eaten trout's courtship display. Rose tells him, it's the way the male signals to the female that they should mate and start a family. The scene then shifts to the castle, where Xian thanks Mari for helping him once again. Mari responds, I'm always here with you and we help each other. Xian hugs her and a magical energy bursts from him, glowing orbs from the courtship display of the hidden trout. And he says, I watched them so closely that the display imprinted on me without me even realizing it. Xian then declares, magical energy is real. Magic doesn't exist in this world, but that's only because the techniques called magic haven't been invented yet. This is starting to get interesting. And from here, my story begins. In this world, I was reborn, and I will create magic. But the episode ends with this revelation, and the narrator says, stay tuned for the upcoming episodes. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you'll get all the latest updates. The episode starts with this guy sitting in his room waiting for the clock to hit midnight so he can turn 30. He's super excited and hyped because he believes that men who aren't married by 30 gain the ability to use magic. He's all like, this is it. I'm gonna find out for myself, so he tries to use magic, but nothing happens. He's furious, like really mad. It finally hits him, magic doesn't exist, and this world is just plain boring. He decides to call it a night since he's got work tomorrow. But as he's heading to bed, he suddenly feels this intense pain in his chest. He freaks out because, duh, he doesn't want to die. But, well, he does. Right before he dies, though, he remembers everything, how he was so sure magic was real, and how it's just not. Then, bam, he gets summoned to another world and becomes Xian, a young boy. We see Xian in his room, talking to himself about the past 3 years. He's been super down during this time, like, really hopeless. He studied and acted like everything was fine, but deep down, he was still obsessed with magic. He never gave up, even though everything pointed to magic not existing in this world either. He remembers trying to convince his dad that magic was real, but his dad had never even heard of it. Still, Xian kept trying to use magic, but nothing ever worked. Then one day, he discovered something kinda like magic. That's when his sister, Mary, came in to call him for dinner. Xian asked her to sit next to him because he wanted to tell her something. When she sits down, he tells her, I love you. And then, suddenly, this magical aura surrounds him. He's over the moon because, hey, magic happened. He realizes that expressing his emotions triggers magical energy. But then it hits him he's gonna have to do this every time if he wants magic to work. Mary gets mad at him, though, because he's treating her like a doll and lying to her. And that's when things get real. He told her that he never lied to her. The flirting thing? Yeah, it really did trigger the magical energy before, and that's why he told her about it. He wasn't lying, it's just the truth. Mary understands this and forgives him. Then she asks if he knows anything else about this magic. Xian replies that it seems like the magical energy is released when he expresses his emotions, but he doesn't think it's limited to just that. He decides to tell her again that he loves her, explaining that expressing his emotions helps him become more aware of them. He embraces his strong feelings and says, "I love you once more." The magical aura appears again, and Mary is amazed by what she sees. But Xian tells her this isn't practical and doesn't really serve any purpose still. The phenomenon doesn't make sense based on common knowledge. He explains that it's similar to what electric eels do. They have something called electroreceptors that let them sense electric fields, and they also have a special organ in their body to generate electricity. In this world, humans might have something similar, an organ that allows them to sense or produce magical energy, which he believes is the heart. Right now, he calls the state where magical energy is released the magic-charged state. Mary tells him that he seems really happy, and it's the first time she's ever seen him like this. And a month passes since Xian first achieved the magic-charged state, and during that time, he learns several new things. To achieve the magic-charged state, he needs a certain level of strong emotions, but maintaining that emotional intensity is really tough. There's a limit to how many times he can enter the magic-charged state in a day. When he uses up all his magical energy, he falls into a state of extreme laziness and loses all motivation. If he completely drains his magical energy, his total capacity increases slightly the next time. Like light orbs, the magic-charged state can't be seen by people who don't have the ability to use magic themselves. Those who do have the ability can see it, and also feel warmth when they touch it. And finally, the biggest challenge, he still can't create light orbs. Xian wants to figure out the limit of magical energy a person can produce. He thinks, if I can make myself glow with the amount I currently have, increasing my maximum capacity won't help, unless it lets me use more at once. And he experiments by making trout fish glow, then sends out light orbs. Later, we see Xian's body glowing as he tries to move the magical energy to his hands. It's incredibly hard because thinking about emotions brings joy, but logically focusing on his right hand requires a completely different mindset. He reasons, if I gather all the magical energy in my right hand, I'll feel amazing. Finally, his right hand starts glowing. Xian slams it into a wall, but it hurts a lot. He thought he'd gained the power to destroy things. The bright red light was intense, but it didn't have the destructive force he expected. Determined, he decides to keep training, gathering magic until he completely depletes his energy. Early the next morning, Xian, Rose, and Mary prepare to train with their father. Their father informs them that all three will practice swordsmanship today. He warns them, don't lose focus. Even wooden swords can kill people. And remember, humans aren't the only threats you might face. You'll encounter monsters everywhere when you leave the city. Anne feels disheartened because he doesn't want to train with swords. He'd rather focus on mastering magic. He's visibly exhausted, and his father tells him, "You're not fit for sparring today." Rose, on the other hand, excels during training. Then it's Mary's turn. Her father trains her while saying, "You're not bad, but your movements are too big. Keep practicing and stay active." The scene shifts to Xian's room, where he's trying to use magic with his hands again but fails to make anything happen. Frustrated, he decides to stop and rethink everything. Just then, his father enters the room and tells him they're going to Astoria. Xian immediately wants to go. We learn that Astoria is a city in the Aten region and the closest medium-sized city to their home. When they finally arrive in the city, their father instructs them, "We're here to shop. Stay close to me and don't wander off." Xian feels disappointed, as he was hoping to search for clues about magic. He thinks, when I grow up, I'll visit the city on my own to find what I'm looking for. They walk through the city, shopping and exploring. At one point, they enter a sword shop. The shopkeeper greets them warmly, saying, "I'll get you whatever you need." He retrieves a sword and hands it to Mary, who is overjoyed with it. Later, they return to the manor, and we see Mary looking sad because Xian doesn't have a sword like hers. Xian reassures her, "I'm younger than you, and I don't want a sword, but I do need your help with other things." As Xian reflects on their visit, he notices a shop with a familiar-looking sign. He's certain he's seen it before and wants to go in, but his father refuses. Xian realizes that this shop is a gene trader's shop. And with that, today's episode comes to an end. Stay tuned for the next episodes. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with all our new content. Our story kicks off with a lone man wandering through the dense forest. The sky began to darken and rain started pouring down, turning the air heavy and eerie. Something was off, like the world itself was holding its breath. But he knew he had to get back to the village fast. Whatever was brewing out here didn't feel right. As he hurried through the trees, he spotted someone running toward him from a distance, stumbling like he was being chased by death itself. Before the man could react, the stranger collapsed in front of him, gasping and mumbling. His words were barely audible at first, but then they pierced the air. They got everyone. Everyone's gone. The man knelt down, gripping the stranger's shoulders. Who are you talking about? What's going on? The stranger, pale and trembling, whispered the words that would change everything. The ghouls. They've come. They're killing everyone in the village. And the scene shifts to Xian, a young man training with his magical abilities alongside his sister. Xian wasn't like anyone else. He'd unlocked a way to channel his power at a level that left even seasoned mages stunned. His sister cheered him on, her pride in his progress shining through. This time, he managed to sustain the energy flowing from his hands longer than ever before, the heat radiating from his body feeling warmer than it had in the past. "You've got this, Xian," she said, encouraging him, but Xian wasn't satisfied. He wanted more. He aimed his hands at a target, forming a blazing fireball. "Let's see how far I can push this," he muttered, unleashing the spell. His mind, however, was weighed down by other thoughts: mystical creatures, unexplainable phenomena, the invisible forces that seemed to shape their world. He even remembered that strange shop he'd visited with his father during a trip to the city. Suddenly, the scene flips back to reality. Xian and his sister descended to the lower levels of their home, where they found their father speaking with several villagers. The tension in the room was suffocating. "The ghouls have attacked," one of the men said, his voice shaking. "They've already killed so many? They're not just a threat, they're a nightmare." Xian clenched his fists. Perfect timing, he thought to himself. "Maybe I can test my magic on these ghouls, but what if they're stronger than I think? What if they're more than just mindless monsters?" Their father, the village leader, barked out orders: "Get the elderly, women and children to safety. Bring them here and don't let anyone leave." "No one? This is serious." Before leaving, Xian asked his father, "What are these ghouls? Are they smart? Strong?" His father shook his head. "No, they're as dumb as animals. They can't think. And they definitely can't climb the outer walls of the palace. It's too smooth. Stay hidden up top, and they won't reach you." Hours passed. The rain outside never let up, turning the night pitch black. Lightning flashed, illuminating terrified faces as people huddled together, waiting for news. The village men had gone to the forest to confront the ghouls, but no one had returned. And so, under the weight of the storm and the fear of the unknown, the battle for survival began. The scene shifts outside, where we see a massive ghoul looming in the stormy night. The rain drenches everything, and the air is thick with tension. The creature prowls, its glowing eyes scanning the area, until it finally sets its sights on the palace. This was the moment everyone feared. The ghoul had arrived. It began clawing at the massive wooden doors, its guttural growls echoing through the halls. Inside, the villagers clung to each other, trembling, their hands clutching their chests, as if to keep their hearts from leaping out. Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the silence. The ghoul had smashed through a window and climbed inside, step by heavy step. It ascended the staircase, its claws scraping against the walls. Everyone held their breath. It was as if time had frozen. Then, with a deafening roar, the ghoul reached the room where they were hiding. It pounded against the door, each blow like a thunderclap, until finally the wooden barrier splintered apart. Xian's mother stood in front of the group, her arms spread wide. She had no weapon, no shield, but her instincts to protect her children gave her courage. Xian's mind raced. "This ghoul, it's smarter than I thought. It's mocking us. It knows it's far stronger. What do I do?" Before he could act, Mary stepped forward, sword in hand. "I'll fight it," she declared. But the ghoul swatted her blade aside like it was a twig. The situation grew even more hopeless. The villagers were paralyzed with fear, unable to imagine a way out. The ghoul raised its claw to strike Mary down. In the split second before it could land the blow, Xian's mother threw herself in the way, taking the brunt of the attack. She collapsed to the ground, blood pooling around her. The ghoul snarled and turned its attention back to the others, inching closer with every step. Xian's heart pounded in his chest. "I can't let this happen. My family, they'll die right in front of me if I just stand here." In a surge of desperation, he charged at the creature, grabbing its massive arm. Though his magic was still weak, he summoned every ounce of strength he had, directing it into the ghoul's flesh. The monster howled in pain, jerking back in shock. But Xian wasn't done. Fueled by adrenaline and sheer willpower, he aimed his magic directly at the ghoul's face, burning its eye and searing its skull. The beast thrashed and roared, but Xian didn't let up. In a final burst, he unleashed everything he had, incinerating the creature and collapsing it into a heap. For a moment, there was silence. Xian stood there, panting, unable to believe what he'd done. He had killed the ghoul. But there was no time to celebrate. His mother lay motionless, her wounds bleeding profusely. The villagers carefully carried her to a bed, but Xian was frantic. "Does anyone here know medicine? Anything at all?" The villagers exchanged nervous glances. This was a farming village, and none of them had any medical training. Then a young girl named Leah hesitantly stepped forward. I'm good at sewing," she said. Xian's eyes lit up. "Then you can help. Grab your tools, we'll stitch your wounds." Leah froze. "What?" "Xian, I sew clothes, not people. I can't do this." "You can," he insisted. It's just like stitching fabric, just follow my instructions. If we don't close these wounds, she'll bleed out. Please, Laya. Brielle Shine's desperation was enough to convince her. With trembling hands, she gathered her sewing kit, and under his guidance, they worked to close the gashes. And so, the painstaking process began. Xian and Leah worked together, carefully cleaning and stitching the wounds. It was grueling 50 stitches in total, and it took nearly 3 hours before they were done. By the time they finished, the first rays of dawn were breaking through the night. As the morning light streamed in, Xian's father finally returned with the rest of the men. The tension in his face melted into relief when he saw that his family was safe. "We found a ghoul lair in the nearby forest," he explained, his voice steady but grim. "We managed to take down 2 of them, but there were tracks. More tracks than we expected. There are likely more of them out there. We came back as fast as we could." Despite the danger, the men had returned unharmed, though a few bore scratches and bruises from their fight. Later, a doctor came to examine Xian's mother. After inspecting her, he nodded approvingly. The injuries were deep, but fortunately they didn't reach the bone. The stitching was done remarkably well, nearly professional. "Who handled this?" Xian remained silent, avoiding eye contact. Mary, meanwhile, approached her mother, guilt written all over her face. "I'm so sorry. This was my fault. If I hadn't tried to fight." Her mother cut her off, her voice gentle but firm. "Mary, don't you dare apologize. You were brave and you tried to protect everyone. That alone is more than enough. You should hold your head high. I'm proud of you." Later, Shine's father pulled him aside, his expression serious yet curious. "The villagers told me what happened. The magic you used, the stitching you did. Where did you learn all this, Xian? How were you able to do things none of us could?" Xian hesitated, a flicker of his past life flashing in his mind. "Because I'm a 30-year-old Japanese man from another life," he thought to himself. "But there's no way I can say that out loud." Instead, he shrugged and replied, "I don't know, Dad. It just came naturally, I guess." His father studied him for a moment before asking, "And the ghoul? The burns on its head, was that magic? What exactly did you do to it?" Xian sighed, realizing he couldn't dodge this question. "It was magic, yes, but Dad, if I told you the whole truth, would you believe me?" His father placed a hand on his shoulder, his grip firm. "Xian, I've raised you to always tell the truth. If you say it, I'll believe you." Xian looked into his father's eyes, the weight of his secret pressing down on him. For now, he decided to keep it buried. Mary interjected, her tone fiery. "Dad, don't you see? Xian's been working tirelessly on his magic research day and night. He's been training so hard for this." Their father's expression darkened as he turned to Xian, his voice stern. "Research? What research? You're acting like some grown man in a child's body. I never imagined you'd do something so reckless. Listen to me, Xian. Never speak of this magic to anyone, do you understand? If word gets out, terrible things could happen. People don't take kindly to those who are different. They might shun you, exile you from the city. Stop your research. Magic is far too dangerous." Mary, refusing to back down, shot back. "How can you say that, Dad? Don't you realize it's thanks to Xian's skills that Mom and I are alive? How can you call it dangerous when it saved our lives?" Her father sighed deeply, his worry etched on his face. "Mary, you don't understand. Yes, this power can kill ghouls and beasts, but it can also destroy much more. It's unpredictable. I'm terrified for him." Xian's gaze dropped for a moment, but then he looked up, his resolve hardening. "Dad, I hear you. I understand your fears, but I'm sorry I can't stop my research. I need magic. It's more than just power to me. It's my dream. If I give it up, I'll feel like I've lost my purpose." He took a deep breath and continued. "I know this could make me an outcast. I know people might mock me, reject me. If it comes to that, you can even disown me and kick me out of the house. I won't blame you, but I won't stop." His father's face softened, a mix of surprise and sadness flashing in his eyes. "You're willing to go that far for this, Xian? Even if no one accepts you?" "Yes," Xian said firmly. Even then, after a long silence, his father sighed, his shoulders sagging. "You're as stubborn as I was at your age. Fine, if this means so much to you, I won't stand in your way. But," he added, his tone sharpening, "you will report your discoveries to me. If I sense you're doing something too dangerous, I'll put an end to it." "Agreed?" Xian's eyes welled with tears. He tried to hold them back, but they spilled over anyway. "Thank you, Dad. Thank you so much." His father placed a firm hand on Xian's shoulder. "Don't cry, son. Hold your head high. I opposed you because I was afraid for you. But if this is your path, I'll help you walk it." And so, this chapter of Xian's journey came to an end. But the story is far from over. Stay tuned for the next episode. And before you go, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss what's coming next. See you soon. Our episode begins with Warrid and Xian as they light a fire together. Warrid is always by Xian's side, sharing everything with him. This time, Xian tells him he wants to experiment with something using the gathered magic. He focuses his power and channels it into the fire, but suddenly his hand gets burned. He screams, "Put it out, Dad. Put it out." His father quickly pours water on it, extinguishing the flames. His father scolds him, saying, "Son, this is dangerous. Don't try reckless things like this again." His sister also warns him not to do anything crazy. But Xian insists, "I've learned something important, and I need to master it." He explains, "I wanted to know what happens when a magic user comes into contact with a massive source of magical energy. I realized this when I faced the ghoul. But there's another thing: what happens when magical energy interacts with a natural phenomenon? That's why I wanted to test it myself. The result you just saw, the red flames turning blue, was caused by my concentrated magic. I believe this phenomenon occurred due to the fusion of the fire and magical energy." His father, despite not being able to see magical energy, is stunned. "Even though I can't see magic, after witnessing this today, I can't help but believe it. I saw the blue flames with my own eyes." "Xian, you were telling the truth all along." Xian smiles and says, "I owe everything, after God, to my sister and to you, Dad. Without you, I wouldn't have made progress in this field." He then thinks about casting fireballs, realizing that it will be extremely difficult. Still, he is determined that one day he will be able to do it. The day had been long, marking the true beginning of his magical research. His father stayed by his side, encouraging him while holding water ready in case anything went wrong. Xian repeated the spell over and over, and his father quickly extinguished any flames. She gradually increased the fire's intensity, pushing himself until exhaustion took over. Seeing this, his father told him to take a break and went to get them a hot drink. But at that moment, Rose arrived and saw what he was doing. He told her he was training in magic with his father, Gwyn. She was surprised that he had told his father about it. He explained, "At first, he was completely against it. He strongly opposed me. But now he's by my side, supporting me. A father who is also a friend, isn't that the best thing ever?" He then thanked her for the day she stood by him, remembering how he had defeated the ghoul. She had been terrified for him at the time. She replied, "That's my duty. We survived thanks to your intelligence. If it weren't for you, the ghoul would have devoured us all." She then asked about Marie, since she was always with him. He told her she's been training non-stop. Day and night, meanwhile, we see Marie in the middle of intense training. She recalls the terrifying ghoul, which fuels her determination even more, driving her to become stronger and master the sword. Xian then talks to us about the energy he has gained. The more magical energy he gathers, the larger the flame in his hand grows. When it reaches a certain intensity, it turns blue. He has tested various heat sources and observed how different materials react, not just fire. However, as long as the heat is high enough, magic will ignite it. However, if he touches it while his body is fully charged with magic, only normal flames will spread through his hand, instantly burning it. Even if his hand is covered with a cloth or glove, he can still channel magic through it. In that case, the fire will continue to spread, but the glove will burn away immediately. Xian admits that, for now, this energy remains dangerous with no real practical use. His father tells him that his experiments are impressive, but controlling fire will be extremely difficult. It seems that fire only responds to magical energy and nothing else. Xian then recalls the fish that could sense magical energy. If he could just keep a sphere of magic floating away from his hand, like the fish did, then perhaps he could control it. At this moment, Marie speaks up, saying, "I can use magic too." Look, Xian is shocked she managed to do it despite never training for it. Then Rose also demonstrates that she can use magic effortlessly, surprising Xian even more. Determined, Xian gathers his magical energy, attempting to fire a shot of flame. He imagines pulling the energy from his hand and, to his amazement, he succeeds. However, the energy release is weak, more like a floating helium balloon than an explosion. They all step outside so Xian can test his magic again. This time, the energy sphere launches impressively, astonishing everyone. His father encourages him, saying that he has finally succeeded. It may not be spectacular yet, but it's still in the experimental phase. At that moment, Xian's face takes on a goofy, almost dumbfounded expression simply because he's so happy. And a month passes since the last ghoul attack. Life returns to a calm routine. We then see Xian walking alone, talking to himself about the need to train harder. Eventually, he reaches his father and sister. Marie is undergoing such intense training that her hands are nearly burned. Their father tells her, "That's enough for today," but she grips her staff again and says, "I'm fine, thank God. Training harder will only make me stronger." Their father insists, "Stop, my daughter, that's enough." And adds, "Marie, that's enough for today. Don't push yourself too hard." She finally agrees to stop, but she's visibly tense. She desperately wants to grow stronger as quickly as possible. A scene shifts indoors, where Xian talks to his father about electricity. He compares it to lightning and wonders whether any animals or plants naturally produce something similar. At talking to himself, he says, My research on flame magic has hit a dead end, so I've decided to put it on hold for now. It's time to take a different approach. My next research topic will be lightning magic. It makes sense to assume that magic will interact with electricity just as it did with fire. Sean, coming out of his deep thoughts, speaks with his father about his ideas. His father tells him that, as far as he knows, nothing like that exists. However, he suddenly remembers something someone named Grast once mentioned, a phenomenon similar to what Xian described. Deciding to investigate, they plan to travel to the city of Asteria to ask Grast about it. Marie, however, stays behind, saying she has a lot to do today. She apologizes to Xian for not coming along. Upon arriving in Asteria, Grast explains that what Xian is looking for is called lightning organ. Obtaining it is extremely difficult because it requires special permission. If Xian can secure this authorization, he can get the ore from any mining site. However, transporting it is a major challenge. It's highly disruptive and incredibly dangerous. Because of this, miners usually leave it where they find it. Xian thinks to himself, so lightning organ loses its charge over time. But the real issue is how to transport it. He then asks Grast, are there any trees around here that produce a thick, white sap? Grast is surprised by the question. He doesn't know of any tree that matches that description. Dan reflects, that means the only proper insulator I have is glass, but I don't know how strong it needs to be. He then asks another question, do you have mica? Or maybe you know it as rock glass? It's a mineral made of multiple thin layers that can be separated. It's transparent and looks similar to crystal. Grast nods. Oh, you mean paper crystal. He rummages through a box and pulls out a large piece of it. Sean examines it and thinks, mica is used in electrical insulation. Maybe this paper crystal can work the same way. But the real problem is, how do we refine and shape it? Seeing Xian lost in thought, Grast asks, you've been thinking for a while. What exactly are you trying to do? Tell me and I'll help you. Xian replies, I'll explain everything, but first, do you have a larger piece of this crystal? Grast tells him that he can find plenty of it in the trade district. However, a piece of this size costs around 4,000 realms, making it extremely expensive. Before Xian can even react, his father speaks up. We'll go there and buy whatever you need, no matter how expensive it is. Nothing is too valuable for you, Xian. Besides, you've never asked me to buy you anything before, so of course I'll get this for you. But if it turns out to be too costly, I'll let you know. Don't keep it to yourself, just tell me. Grast, hearing this, is amazed. Wow, what an incredible father you have. But the scene shifts to the bustling marketplace, where Xian's father purchases a large sphere for him. They then return home, ready to experiment. As Xian prepares to test his theory, both his father and mother stand beside him, cheering him on. However, as they glance around, they suddenly realize that Marie is nowhere to be found. Concerned, they begin to worry. Where could she be? But then, they reassure themselves perhaps she went to visit her friend and will be back later in the afternoon. While we watch Xian now using his magical power on the ball, a massive effect occurs. Then, Xian laughs his usual laugh, very happy that he was able to do what he wanted. He then explains that the gathered magic didn't ignite when it got close to the lightning metal, but rather it shot out sparks intensely. This is proof that the magical energy has other features beyond ignition. It seems that the magical energy mimics the phenomenon it touches, which means the possibility of using all the magic he imagined has greatly increased. And the scene then shifts to Xian sitting on his bed, thinking. He wonders, how can I convert the magical energy into an electric current and then release it from my hand as an electric shock? If the magical energy I send returns instantly upon impact, I think I won't have a way to overcome that issue, but I want to use magic more freely. He then thinks, there's no need for the magical energy I release to always be in the shape of a ball. He tries using a square form, and the energy appears exactly as he imagined. He had been so preoccupied with trying to replicate the phenomenon the fish perform, and now he's more flexible, testing different shapes. He releases hearts, boxes, stars, and many other forms. He then enters his sister's room to share his discoveries, but unfortunately, he doesn't find her. Afterward, he goes outside to look for her and finally finds her practicing with the staff after dawn. She approaches her, and she asks, what are you doing here? He tells her that he went into her room, but when he didn't find her, he came out to search for her. He apologizes, saying that he was too absorbed in his own thoughts and wasn't there for her when he should have been. She reassures him, saying, that doesn't bother me. I just wanted to be stronger. I felt jealous because I'm your older sister, so it should be me who protects you, not the other way around. Even though I trained before, the sword didn't help me, and I was so scared. My hands were shaking when that monster appeared. I would have died if you hadn't saved me, Shine. I'm happy I'm still alive now, but I'm also angry at myself for not doing something. I wasn't supposed to protect you, but you protected me instead. Then she turns to him and says, I don't hate you at all. You're my little brother, and I love you now and forever. I'm trying to become stronger so I can protect you, Mom and Dad. I train more and more so I can have complete courage. She starts to cry, adding, "I remember seeing your face that day. You were so brave. But in the end, you risked your life for mine and for everyone else." Xian approaches her, hugs her, and says, "I'm so sorry, sis. I'll be with you from now on and encourage you just like you've always encouraged me." She cries a lot, and then magical energy forms between them. And this ends our episode today. Stay tuned for the next one, but make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you get all the latest updates. The episode begins with Xian, his sister Mari, and their friend Emma chatting casually. During their conversation, Xian asks Mari to step back a little since he's about to conduct a magic experiment, and staying too close to the stone could put her in danger. Mari becomes visibly upset, thinking she's just getting in his way. But Xian denies this and reassures her that if she stands a little farther back, his magic research will be much easier. He then begins his experiments for the day. Up until now, he has conducted numerous training sessions, mainly focusing on altering the shape of his magical energy. At first, he realized that he could extend his magic and make it extremely thin, but that didn't increase the overall amount of energy he was releasing. Simply put, the more his magical energy spread out, the thinner and weaker it became. Later, Xian discovered that in this state magical energy couldn't evaporate. This made him wonder what if he compressed it instead. He tried it, and the results exceeded his expectations. And by condensing his magical energy, he significantly enhanced the power of flare, leading him to name this ability gas flare. And when he attempted to harness electricity, however, all he managed to create was a small spark. It seemed that the amount of magical energy he was using was too little. The conclusion of his research was that he had gained the ability to release magical energy, reshape it, and control its form. And then gathered all his energy and directed it at the stone. However, the energy rebounded, hitting him back. Startled, he fell to the ground. Mari and Emma rushed to his side, worried about him, but he was unharmed. They asked him to explain what had happened, since they expected the lightning to shoot forward, not bounce back, and explained that magic is created by consuming magical energy, so it's natural for it to move toward the source of energy flow. When his magic touched the lightning ore, it was only natural that the energy flowed back toward him. He felt that he was on the verge of a new discovery, but he couldn't quite grasp it yet. He believed that magical energy had limitless potential, but he lacked the knowledge to fully understand it. More importantly, he lacked creativity. Everything had been progressing far too smoothly so far, making him almost believe in the illusion that the world itself wanted him to invent new magic. At that moment, Xian's father and Mr. Grast arrived to talk to him. His father mentioned the lightning ore Xian had collected and accused Grast of foolishly using his knowledge to extract it himself. Until now, harnessing lightning had been nearly impossible, but Grast had managed to obtain some of the ore, intending to turn it into a profitable business. Grast, looking genuinely regretful, interrupted, admitting that he had planned to make a fortune by smuggling the lightning ore without permission. And replied casually that there was no problem with that. Grast was stunned despite taking advantage of Xian's idea for his own benefit. Xian didn't seem to mind, but Xian's father interrupted, saying that wasn't the only issue. He then led Xian to a place filled with large amounts of lightning ore, all glowing intensely, even though it wasn't exactly a good light source. Grast explained that some people had bought it at first because it was unusual, but the demand didn't last long, and now he was stuck with all this ore. And he pleaded with Xian to come up with a way to sell it, explaining that he had been getting complaints about the loud, crackling noises it made. If he didn't do something within the next 3 days, he wouldn't be able to keep renting the storage facility. He had been smart and creative enough to transport the lightning ore now. He needed Xian to figure out what to do with it. Xian promised he would do his best to solve the problem, but admitted that he didn't have a plan yet, so Grast shouldn't get his hopes up too much. He then approached the lightning ore and asked why it had been arranged in this way. Grast explained that placing the raw stones together caused them to fuse into metal, and then asked whether the metal retained any electrical properties, or if the lightning still flickered upon contact. Instead of answering, Grast handed him a piece of iron and told him to test it himself. Xian placed the metal close to the ore, but nothing happened. It had transformed into metal and no longer behaved like raw lightning ore. Curious, Xian asked at what stage of the refining process the lightning had stopped reacting. Grast explained that it flickered briefly when broken apart, but stopped entirely when heated and melted. From that point on, the process was smooth and uninterrupted. Determined to see for himself, Xian decided to heat the raw ore. He extended his hand and conjured flames. Grast was astonished. Xian simply explained that it was magic, something he used in his research. Grast then asked if the results would be different using regular fire. Xian admitted that he wasn't sure, as he was still in the middle of his magical studies. Grast decided to test it himself, estimating that the process was so, everyone stayed to watch. Once the process was complete, Xian excitedly named the new material Iron Lightning. He was thrilled it had the potential to be an incredible product. Without wasting any more time, they started mass producing it. Grass worked non-stop for 3 days and nights, pushing through without a single moment of rest, and then presented his invention in a more refined way, explaining its function. When you remove this cover, he said, demonstrating the device lights up like a lamp. With this, you won't need ordinary lamps anymore. And he then introduced another invention, which he called the lightning torch. Pressing a small mechanism, he effortlessly ignited a flame. It's much easier to use than a regular fire starter, he added with a proud smile. His parents were overjoyed and incredibly proud of him. His sister Mary was ecstatic. She adored her brother and admired his brilliance. Grast, on the other hand, was beyond grateful. This invention will attract so many buyers, he exclaimed. I'm going to be rich thanks to you, Xian. After finalizing everything, Xian left with his family, bidding farewell to Grast. As they rode away in the carriage, he turned to his sister and said, while we were making the lightning lamps and torches, I had an idea. If we can really create what I'm thinking of using Iron Lightning, it could revolutionize my magic completely. Meanwhile, back in town, the lightning lamps and torches became an instant sensation. People were eager to buy them, and in no time they sold out completely. On another day, Xian conducted a new experiment. He placed a glass cup over a lit candle. The flame should go out, he said, because fire can't burn without oxygen. Sure enough, after a moment, the candle flickered and extinguished. His sister and her friend, Rose, watched the experiment with fascination. Then Xian used his blue flame magic to relight the candle. This time, he sealed it tightly under the glass and waited. Mary observed closely. I think the flame won't go out this time, she said confidently. Rose, however, had a different opinion. No way. It has to go out. The oxygen is cut off. But when Xian lifted the glass again, the candle was still burning, unaffected. Mary cheered, delighted that her guess had been right. Xian, deep in thought, realized something groundbreaking. Perhaps magic didn't require oxygen to sustain itself. Maybe magical energy could enhance natural phenomena without being affected by external conditions. An idea struck him. He gathered his magical energy, forming a concentrated flare spell, and launched it high into the sky. Then, he asked his sister to send her magical energy toward it. She complied, releasing her power toward the flare. Suddenly, an immense reaction occurred. The magical energy rebounded violently, sending Mary tumbling to the ground. Fortunately, she wasn't hurt, but the force of the reaction shocked them both. Xian had expected the flame's intensity to increase at most. However, the unexpected magical backlash suggested something else. The energy explosion occurred because the flare's power didn't match the incoming magical energy, and it had reacted explosively, igniting like gunpowder. He began to reflect on all his past experiments. A new realization dawned on him. Electric currents, he muttered, eyes widening. Without wasting a second, he rushed toward the lightning-infused rock formation. This is just like an electric current, he thought, his excitement growing. Then, Xian directed his magical energy toward the rock and said, "This isn't magical energy." The two girls were confused. "What do you mean?" they asked. Xian smiled. "Well, it is magical energy, but at the same time it's not." Seeing their puzzled expressions, he explained, "It's air. The moment I tried to activate lightning magic, I noticed resistance from the wind, like a red beam pushing back at me. That's when I realized something important." He continued excitedly, "Flare doesn't need oxygen, it burns purely using magical energy as fuel. This means magical energy functions just like air. When it interacts with a physical material, it amplifies its properties. That's exactly what happened when my sister directed her small amount of energy toward the flare. The imbalance caused an explosion." Anne was thrilled, considering this a major breakthrough, but the girls simply stared at him in disbelief. "You're so weird," one of them muttered. The scene shifted to Xian, his family, and Grast. Grast had completed the special item Xian requested. "I used paper crystal due to its excellent insulation properties," Grast explained. "Then, I stitched it inside a durable, fire-resistant leather." Xian eagerly put on the gloves Grast had made for him. With excitement, he began testing his lightning magic again and again. After several attempts, he finally unleashed a massive surge of power. Electricity crackled around him. The air itself vibrated with energy. He had done it, and was overwhelmed with emotion. He had successfully completed his lightning magic. His sister was overjoyed, but as she looked at him, she saw something unexpected. Xian was crying not from sadness, but from sheer happiness. Mary immediately ran to him, hugging him tightly. "You did it, Xian. I'm so proud of you." Later that night, Xian lay in bed, exhausted but satisfied. As he got up to go to the bathroom, he suddenly heard his parents talking. Xian's magic is incredible, his father said. I don't think he'd ever become arrogant about it, but I still wonder if we should show it to the world. His mother sighed. We shouldn't put him on a pedestal, dear. He's incredibly smart, but he's still just a child. I know, his father replied. But no matter what I do, I can't help but see him as someone truly special. After all, that person entrusted him to US. Xian froze. His heart pounded in his chest. What did he just hear? He wasn't related to this family by blood? Xian stood there in shock, unable to process the revelation. And with that, today's episode comes to an end. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes of this amazing anime. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Xian, his sister Mari, and her friend Rose were together as Xian experimented with new, incredibly powerful spells. The two girls were amazed by his strength and congratulated him on his progress. He had increased the range of his spells significantly since he had gotten used to using Bolt. Xian thanked them for their support, and at that moment, he recalled his father's words. His father had once spoken about how special Xian was, partly because someone had entrusted him to their care. But Xian knew he wasn't actually Mari's brother, which meant they could potentially marry when they grew older. That night, Xian sat in his room, fully dedicating himself to testing compound magic. This type of magic amplified and concentrated magical energy when combined, and it was called harmonized magic. When synergy magic was merged with flare, it reached its highest levels, and when harmonized magic was used with Bolt, it resulted in its most powerful form. If magical energy touched flare, it created flare bomb. The next morning, Xian and the girls went to the river. Xian stepped into the water, leaving the girls confused about what he was doing, but they knew it had something to do with magic. Sure enough, Xian began using magic inside the water. The girls asked him to explain, and he told them that in a previous experiment, he had discovered that magical energy released into the air took on the properties of air. This made him wonder what would happen if he released it underwater. However, the results were quite similar. The spell floated, encountering some resistance, making him think something had changed. But when he released magical energy from the void into water, there was no reaction, and vice versa. This suggested that, unlike fire and breath, magical energy didn't create a strong reaction in water. That meant he needed to change his approach. Xian then altered the way he used his magic, commanding his magical energy to lift the water, and it worked. The girls got excited because this meant magical energy could interact with water. However, after finishing his experiment, Xian told them that while he was thrilled to confirm that water magic existed, there was no practical use for the reaction he had just created. The only potentially useful aspect was the moisture in the air. He then asked the girls to keep an eye on their surroundings as he attempted to gather water from the air. However, it didn't seem to work, though he did notice his hand felt slightly damp. That was only natural. Whenever Xian thought about magic, he instinctively grasped it. The magic he gathered in his right hand was about the size of a basketball, but there was only a tiny amount of water in that volume of air. Then, all of a sudden, he was able to use the magic spell he had long dreamed of. Deciding to focus his magical energy even more, he completed his experiment, and his sister Mari watched in awe and immediately asked what had just happened. Xian explained that he had released his magical energy very faintly, spreading it across a large area of air to gather water. This seemed to consume far less magical energy than applying magic directly to water. He speculated that this was why he had been able to collect the water without needing to increase his magical power. Mari then asked him what he would name the spell, and Xian called it Aqua. He then had the girls try casting the spell themselves. Now that Xian had successfully used these new spells, he knew he was about to reach a stagnation point in his progress. This was the perfect time to move on to the next phase of his research. Later, he met with Grast and told him that he wanted to take on a monster suppression mission. He needed to test whether his magic was effective against monsters. Grast responded that he would have to register with the guild first. Then, turning to the girls, he told them they didn't have to accompany Xian to the guild. But Mari refused to leave her brother behind. She wanted to become strong like him so she could protect herself and others. Seeing her determination, Grast agreed to take them along. However, before they left, Xian begged him not to tell their father, and Grast took them to the guild, where he introduced himself and his rank. He then requested the guild to register the 3 children. But before anything could happen, Xian's father appeared. He told the guild receptionist that he would sponsor all 3 children with his special diamond rank status. The entire guild was astonished at the high rank he held. Xian's father then instructed them to proceed with their mission. Once they had all left the guild, The children apologized for acting without his knowledge. Xian then asked how he had found out they were going monster hunting. His father admitted that he hadn't known exactly what they were planning, but he had suspected something. Over the past few days, Mari had been avoiding eye contact with him and their mother when speaking, which was unusual for her. However, he never imagined they would attempt something as dangerous as hunting monsters without telling him. The children apologized again, but their father wasn't angry. He was actually relieved that they had been cautious enough to bring a strong and reliable companion like Grast. If anything went wrong, they had him for backup. There were never any guarantees in this world. He then told them that next time they should come to him first before doing anything reckless. Having high-ranking adventurers with them was the safest option, so this time he would personally accompany them on their mission. The scene shifts to the forest, where the group spots a pack of monsters. However, before anyone can react, Xian's father steps forward and takes them down one by one with astonishing speed. Both Grast and Xian are left in shock. Xian had never realized his father was this powerful. After finishing off a portion of the creatures, his father turns to them and warns, "I've only thinned their numbers. There are still plenty left, so stay sharp," as if on cue. More monsters appear stronger than goblins. Seeing them, Mari remembers a past encounter and is overcome with fear. But Xian reassures her, "We'll be fine, just stick together." And the monsters charge and the battle begins. Xian takes the rear, using his overwhelming magic to obliterate enemy after enemy. The battlefield is shrouded in dust, making it impossible to see clearly. Suddenly, in a fleeting moment of vulnerability, a monster lunges straight at Xian. But he isn't prepared to block the attack, but at the last second, Mari jumps in and saves him. Before he can even catch his breath, two more creatures attack. Reacting instantly, Xian channels High Volt, electrocuting them and blowing them apart on the spot. Minutes later, the battle is over. They have defeated every last monster. Xian's father and Grast finally step forward, clapping in approval. "You did well," his father says, clearly impressed. They had been watching from a distance, carefully observing their movements and strategies. Exhausted, everyone takes a deep breath. The fight was intense, and they are completely drained. Seeing this, Xian's father tells them, "Grast and I will handle collecting the loot. You all get some rest." As they sit and recover, Xian suddenly senses something strange coming from inside a nearby cave. Curiosity and instinct drive him to investigate. Though hesitant and a bit afraid, the group decides to follow him inside. Inside, a mysterious glow flickers in the darkness. As they cautiously move closer, Xian sees something incredible, a fairy trapped inside a cage. Without hesitation, they decide to free her. The moment they unlock the cage, the fairy flutters up into the air. Everyone watches in astonishment. This is the first time they've ever seen anything like it. Then, without a word, she vanishes into the distance. And the scene transitions to their return home, victorious and unharmed. Their mother greets them warmly in her own way, bringing them fresh milk. As they drink, she finally speaks. "I already know everything. Do whatever you want as long as it's the right thing and as long as you take care of yourselves." And with that, the episode comes to a close. Stay tuned for the next episode. But don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Xian begins the episode training in the forest, practicing his magic. He encounters a goblin and decides to test his wind magic. He creates high and low pressure zones, covers them with a magical membrane, and then increases their power, generating an extremely strong storm. He then directs it at the goblin, instantly killing it. Overjoyed with the effectiveness of his spell, he names it Blue. However, he realizes that activating it takes too long, even though it's useful in certain situations. After all, Blue's primary function isn't for direct attacks. At that moment, Marie and her friend Rose arrive, having just finished hunting goblins as well. Xian reflects on the fact that 2 years have passed since they started hunting monsters. Over the past 2 years, his ability to measure magical energy has improved significantly, and he can now gauge a person's magic power just by looking at them. He is now 10 years old, while Rose and his sister Marie are 12. Later, we see Xian and the girls wandering through the marketplace. Rose comments that the number of monsters has been increasing recently, leading the Adventurers Guild to receive non-stop requests for monster suppression. However, it's strange that so many goblins are appearing so close to the city. Around the same time, Xian notices that the number of homeless people has also increased compared to before. After that, they visit Grast's shop. Grast welcomes them and tells them to do as they please since there aren't many customers today. Xian asks if he wants to smelt any electric metal, but Grast declines. Instead, he hands Xian the gauntlet he wears on his arm, which helps him use magic. Xian thanks him, and Grast tells him he has a bright future as both an adventurer and a mage. Xian confidently replies that thanks to their strength, they'll reach the silver rank soon. Grast is surprised, as he doesn't recall anyone their age ever achieving silver rank before. Rose then comments that she thought Grast and Sir Gawain had done so at a very young age. Grast explains that while they did hunt monsters at their age, they were never registered with the guild, as adventurers' guilds weren't as common back then. Cheyenne then puts on the gauntlet, and his sister Marie speaks to him, saying that she knows he can already use different types of magic, but what will he do once he can use even more? He replies that he wants to keep learning, mastering as many magical elements as possible. Marie then tells him that thanks to his magic, they've learned so much. Without it, they wouldn't have these electric lamps or been able to defeat the goblins in the forest. She realizes that the magic he discovered is truly powerful and wonders if it could be used for other purposes as well. After all, special abilities influence everything around them, whether for good or evil. The next morning, Sheehan trains with his father in their garden, practicing magic. To his father's surprise, Sheehan manages to defeat him. His father never expected him to use such a technique and asks how he did it. Sheehan answered that he directed air energy into the ground, increasing the air pressure inside until it created a hole. However, running while casting spells is exhausting, so he needs to train his body more. His father responded that both his movements and magical strategies were improving tremendously. He was particularly surprised when Sheehan used what seemed like an advanced version of blue just moments ago. Cheyenne interrupted, explaining that he still struggled to control the spell, so it didn't always go where he wanted. However, he expressed his dream of being able to fly one day. At that moment, Marie arrived, eager to train with their father as well. She sparred with him, displaying incredible speed with her sword, but ultimately lost. Frustrated, she lamented that she always lost, unlike her brother, who seemed to win every time. Their father reassured her, saying that she would definitely be able to defeat him one day. Encouraged, Marie thanked him before returning to her training. Sheehan and his father continued talking. His father mentioned that, at 12 years old, Marie's swordsmanship could already be considered top tier. Her strength rivaled that of adults, and her physical abilities were extraordinary. Though she was still a child, it was clear she was exceptional. Sheehan suspected that this was due to magical energy. His father admitted that it was possible but told him not to worry about it. Later, Sheehan and Marie visited their friend Rose, who was working in the fields. They came to help, and Rose was grateful, as there had been a shortage of laborers. Excited, Sheehan and Marie eagerly joined in. Rose asked them to help get rid of pests attacking the crops, and together they worked until the task was finished. As the sun set, Sheehan and the girls discussed what to do next. Marie suggested they compete to see who could catch the most insects. Just then, the sky began to change, filling with strange clouds. They were caught off guard, unsure of what was happening. Suddenly, rain started pouring, and everyone ran for shelter. Out of nowhere, Marie collapsed, losing consciousness. Sheehan rushed to wake her, but she didn't respond. Panicked, they carried her to Rose's house, unsure of what to do. Their parents soon arrived, and their mother desperately called out to Marie. Slowly, Marie opened her eyes but remained unresponsive. Rose hesitantly suggested that it might be lethargy disease. Sheehan immediately understood this illness had been spreading recently in Istria. Rose explained that she had heard rumors about it when she went to the market. People had been collapsing suddenly, as if their strings had been cut, completely ceasing movement. They remained conscious but unresponsive, doing nothing but sitting there with vacant expressions. Since it seemed like a state of exhaustion or listlessness, the illness was named lethargy disease. They asked Rose how people could recover from this illness. She replied that she had only heard bits and pieces of information so far. No one who had fallen ill had recovered, and the cause remained unknown. No one truly understood the disease. Sheehan's father suggested they take Marie to a doctor in Istria immediately for an examination. He then instructed Cheyenne to return home with his mother. However, Sheehan refused. He wanted to go with them. His father denied the request, explaining that the roads were far more dangerous at night, as the likelihood of encountering monsters increased. Cheyenne insisted, arguing that although he was strong, they could be ambushed by monsters, and he wouldn't be able to protect Marie alone. He had to go with them. He may have been a child, but surely there was something he could do. Convinced, his father agreed to take him along. As they traveled, Sheehan glanced up at the sky and was startled to see it glowing a deep red. He immediately asked his father about it, but his father saw nothing unusual. He assumed Cheyenne was referring to lightning. Suddenly, Sheehan noticed a pack of creatures racing toward them, blood wolves, known for their thirst for human blood. Sheehan quickly attempted to use his blue and aqua spells against them, but nothing happened. The sheer number of wolves was overwhelming. Just as suddenly as they appeared, the wolves withdrew, but an eerie sensation washed over Sheehan. Something was behind them. Alarmed, he urged his father to run. Something was coming. A chilling presence emerged from the darkness. Cheyenne's breath caught in his throat as he laid eyes on the ghostly figure. He shouted for his father to look, but to his shock, his father couldn't see it. That's when Cheyenne realized only those with magical energy could perceive the entity. Not only could his father not see the spirit, but he also couldn't hear Sheehan. The ghostly figure lunged for him, reaching out with its spectral hand. Reacting instinctively, Sheehan channeled his magic and hurled a spell at the apparition's hand. The spirit shrieked in agony as its limb ignited. It wasn't done yet. The entity darted toward the front of the carriage, its sights now set on Xian's father. Without hesitation, Xian launched himself forward with a powerful leap, placing his hand directly onto the ghost. In an instant, the spirit vanished into nothingness. Xian's father caught him before he could hit the ground, scolding him for being reckless. Xian defended himself, explaining that he had no other way to defeat it. His father sighed, but ultimately thanked him. If not for his actions, they might not have made it out alive. Pressing forward, his father questioned what that ghost-like being was. It resembled a human, yet it was unlike anything he had ever seen. He had only caught a glimpse of it when it got close enough. Regardless, they needed to hurry. There was no telling what else might be lurking in the darkness. Finally, they arrived at Dr. Alphonse's home. Upon stepping inside, they were met with a grim sight: numerous people suffering from the same condition as Maria. All of them had fallen victim to lethargy disease. Xian rushed to the doctor, pleading for him to examine his sister. The doctor, however, calmly explained that they would have to wait their turn. Xian's father, already frustrated from their long, rain-soaked journey, erupted in anger. "We traveled through a storm to get here, and now you're telling us to wait." But Xian placed a hand on his father's arm, trying to calm him. "Dad, everyone here is in the same situation as us. We don't have a choice." After what felt like an eternity, it was finally Marie's turn. The doctor conducted a thorough examination, and, as expected, diagnosed her with lethargy disease. Xian immediately asked the question burning in his heart: "How do we cure?" The doctor let out a heavy sigh. "Unfortunately, we haven't found a cure yet. The only thing we can do now is monitor the patients." Xian clenched his fists, his frustration boiling over. Aren't doctors supposed to save people? You have to do something. He fell to his knees, his voice trembling as he pleaded. "Please, you have to help my sister. We promised each other that we'd help Rose with the fields next year. We can't break that promise." Tears welled up in his eyes, spilling onto the floor as he sobbed. His father knelt beside him, trying to comfort him, but Xian could only think of the times he had spent playing and laughing with his sister. And with that, the episode comes to an end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on anything new. They decided to stay in Estria for a while at Grast's house instead of returning to the village. Grast spoke with them to check on Mary's condition, knowing how difficult this was for them, and wished her a speedy recovery before leaving for work. At that moment, Rose arrived to check on her friend. As time passed, Mary remained unresponsive, no matter how many times Xian called out to her. Then Xian's father came to him, telling him that he wanted him to come along to meet someone who might be able to help his sister. However, Xian refused, insisting on staying by Mary's side. His father then asked if he remembered the invisible creature he had faced 4 days ago. He pointed out that during that time, more than 10 separate incidents had occurred where people were attacked and killed by an unseen entity. Most likely, it was the same monster they had encountered. There was no guarantee it wouldn't happen again. They had somehow managed to fend it off back then, which meant that Xian had what it took to fight the creature. But they didn't stop it. More people would fall victim to it. And, however, paid no attention to his father's words and firmly declared that he would stay here forever and never leave his sister alone. And his father then pressured him, asking if that meant he didn't care if someone else died because of the monster, and he was the only one capable of facing it. If the nocturnal beast attacked their city or village, it would be his fault. Ashen snapped, yelling that this had nothing to do with him. Why did it have to be his responsibility? All he wanted was to stay by his sister's side because he was extremely worried about her. His father, with a pained expression, told him that he was worried about her too. She was his precious daughter whom he loved dearly, and if sacrificing everything could save her, he would sell his soul without hesitation. But he wasn't given the chance to do that. As right now, the only thing he could do was what was within his power with Xian's help. And he knew that Xian was the only one who could save many lives by defeating this monster. At that moment, Xian remembered his sister playing with him, excitedly telling him about a spell she had discovered. She had said that magic could achieve many things and that there might be abilities only he could unlock. She also knew that her brother, Xian, could save many people, and she had begged him to do so when the time came. Realizing this, Xian made his decision. He would go and help the people by eliminating the monster. If there was anything he could do, he would do it without hesitation. And Xian tells his father that he will go with him wherever he wants. He had thought long and hard about his feelings and had finally decided to save people from the monster. However, as he looks at his sister, he suddenly feels an unsettling sensation. She has no magical energy at all. Alarmed, he tells his father they must go immediately to the place where many people suffering from lethargy are being treated. As Xian walks through the streets, he reflects on how he had been with his sister for 4 days and yet failed to notice this. How could he have missed such an important detail? When they arrive, his father asks if he has discovered anything. Achin responds, saying that the first thing he noticed is that those suffering from lethargy have no trace of magical energy. None of the patients in this clinic do. In fact, he hasn't seen a single person with magical energy anywhere in the city. He had seen many people affected by the illness all over town, but now none of them seem to have any energy left. This might just be a theory, but he suspects that only those with magical energy are the ones contracting lethargy. If this isn't just a coincidence, but rather something inevitable, then there must be something he can do. He knows that no one has found a cure for this disease, yet they haven't even been able to identify any clues or causes. That means he will have to find a solution himself. Magic works the same way. If what you seek doesn't exist, you create it yourself. Everything that happened over the past 4 days is connected to magic and to them. Xian and his father then head to Duke Balf. On meeting him, they greet him politely and apologize for coming unannounced. However, they get straight to the point. Xian's father mentions the Duke's proposal to use lightning lamps as a defense against invisible monsters. At this, the Duke becomes furious. Ever since he took over the rule of Estria, cases of lethargy had been appearing non-stop. He declares that he will resign from his position as Duke of Estria. Xian's father urges him to calm down, suggesting that he could command his subordinates to resolve this issue. But the Duke responds that he is well aware of how the Merchant Guild attempted to monopolize the lightning lamps for themselves, but they managed to gather them from all over the city and supply them to the guards. He also knows that both the lethargy disease and the invisible monster are connected to magic and magical energy. Then, turning to Xian, he tells him that he knows about him well. His father has spoken a lot about him. Regarding this monster, it appears that, in addition to the lightning lamps, magic also has an effect on it. In that case, if they gather people who have a magical base, they might be able to defeat it. And, however, points out that this is extremely difficult. Learning magic takes time, and most people with magical energy have already fallen victim to lethargy. The Duke responds that medical research on the disease is progressing very slowly. He has a feeling that Xian has thoughts about lethargy that he isn't sharing, and then proposes conducting experiments on living organisms. The Duke, confused, asks what he means, and Xian explains that in a healthy person, magical energy naturally recovers when they rest. But those suffering from lethargy have lost their magical energy completely. If something is preventing their energy from recovering, then perhaps giving them magical energy or stabilizing it within their bodies could help restore their health. The Duke hesitates, saying that attempting to restore magical energy in those who have a natural magical foundation could be possible, but he feels that such an experiment would be extremely dangerous. However, if he is unable to provide them with magical energy, those suffering from lethargy will not survive. And Xian reflects on this. The most important aspect of medical advancement is the number of patients who perish in the pursuit of progress. There is no need for idealism. It won't save anyone. That's why he is willing to endure any scandal if it means saving his sister. And he then tells Duke Balf that he will conduct tests on those with confirmed magical energy who are facing an inevitable death. Duke Balf agrees, granting Xian permission to conduct experiments on living monsters. Then, moreover, he provides him with assistants who are well-versed in medicine and monsters and promises to send soldiers to help fight the creatures. Xian realizes that he would never have received approval for this if he were alone. Yet, he is surprised that Duke Balf even believed the words of a child like him in the first place, especially since he had never seen magic with his own eyes. Later, Xian meets the assistants Duke Balf had sent. One of them, a man named Cole Alistair, introduces himself. He is an assistant to Dr. Alphonse, Xian's mentor. Cole speaks to Xian in a dismissive tone, saying that he initially refused to come here. He didn't have time for these games. But since it was an order from his master, he had no choice but to comply. And then, a young woman introduces herself as Ravina, the heir of Marquis Alfred Sperl, the ruler of Zevenlast in the Kingdom of Listia. She also serves as the commander of the 75th Division of the Estria Royal Guard. Ravina turns to Cole and asks him not to be rude to Xian. Even if he is just a child, he should still be treated with respect. And Cole smirks and sarcastically suggests that she might be the worst at her job. Infuriated, Ravina declares that she is a full-fledged knight. She then draws her sword, the very one bestowed upon her by the king. Xian quickly asks her to calm down and sheath her weapon. Then, he turns to the third person and asks her to introduce herself. She tells them that her name is Bridget Gate and that she is here under orders from Duke Balf as well. She also reveals that she is an expert on monsters when it comes to them. She knows more than anyone. Xian thanks all of them for their help. He assures them that this mission is not some trivial task. It is based on a limited amount of evidence and information, but it is crucial nonetheless. The next morning, Xian takes them to the training grounds to teach them how to use magic. Yet when they see lightning suddenly appear from his hand, they are stunned. It emerged from nothing. How was that even possible? Xian explains that this is the technique he developed, which he calls magic. He then demonstrates again, using magic once more. As Xian tells them that natural phenomena can be amplified and maintained through magical energy. If this energy exists within the body, and by releasing it, he can manifest these phenomena. Xian uses his power and explains to them. The natural phenomena can be amplified and sustained through magical energy. This energy exists within the body, and I release it to manifest these phenomena. Magic relies on magical energy. It draws its power from what resides in our bodies and minds. However, excessive use leads to severe exhaustion, making you feel weak and unable to move. And these symptoms might even resemble. Cole interrupts. Are you talking about the lethargy disease? That scene transition the forest. The scene shifts to the forest, where we see Ravina struggling to walk due to the heavy armor she's wearing. Then Shinon comments, Cole was supposed to head to the clinic for an assignment, so the three of us moved forward to begin our live experiments using monsters. And Ravina turns to Gate and accuses her, you set me up. This slope is obviously unnatural. Gate responds, I was asked to investigate the invisible monster. It might be connected to lethargy disease. Shinon interjects, it's unrelated. I've been searching for ways to supply patients with magical energy, but magic is dangerous. It can kill the creatures it's directed at. I've used it against monsters many times. When I channel my magic into them, and it interacts with their own magical energy and burns them from the inside. As for curing lethargy disease, it's just a hypothesis. But I believe we'll need to infuse patients with magical energy and saturate their bodies with it to conduct this research. We must find creatures with magical energy and experiment on transferring it. It would be best to have an expert in this field with us. And then shifts the topic. As for the new invisible monster called Wraith, Kate suddenly gets agitated and asks, have you seen Wraith? Shinon replies, my father submitted a report to His Majesty. They are working on countermeasures, and that's why they summoned a monster expert like you. Kate's face lights up with excitement. Suddenly, a monster appears, leaving everyone stunned. Why is a goblin in a place like this? They usually live in massive dens. Ravina rushes forward, breaking her armor in the process, and charges at the goblin. And she declares proudly, I am pure, just, and proud. Now witness my true strength. But Shinon uses his magic and attacks, but his strike misses. He attempts to attack again, but notices something strange. The goblin is casting spells at an unusually rapid speed. They all strike at it, yet none of their attacks seem to have any effect. Ravina delivers a powerful slash to its neck, killing it instantly. Shinon, surprised, says, I didn't realize you were this strong. And Ravina responds, it's my first time seeing a goblin like this. I fought many ghouls in Zevonlast, but never goblins. You see, without that armor, taking down creatures like this is much easier. Shinon sighs, if you kill them, we won't be able to use them for our magical energy experiments. Episode end. And that's the end of today's episode. Stay tuned for the next one. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with all our latest content. Today's episode begins with Xion at his home, asking Rose about his mother. She tells him that his mother has gone to take care of Mary. Rose had offered to care for Mary in her place, but she insisted on staying with her a little longer. Rose then mentions that she heard Xion has started his research on treating lethargy disease and offers to help in any way she can. Xion thanks her sincerely, but knows that she has household responsibilities and can't travel to Istria all the time. He reassures her that he has 3 experts assisting him with his research, so he'll be fine. Rose, feeling sorrowful, expresses that she wishes she could do more for her close friend. Xion comforts her, telling her that helping his mother is already a huge support. There's something only she can accomplish. Next, we see Xion walking with Cole, heading somewhere unknown to him. When he asks where they are going, Cole explains that the Duke has ordered him to take Xion to the clinic. He believes this might help uncover leads in treating lethargy disease. Upon arriving at the clinic, a nurse informs them that the patients here suffer from different stages of lethargy disease. Those in the severe stages are completely incapable of doing anything. Xion asks for permission to touch one of them, and Cole agrees. As Xion holds the patient's hand, he notices that the person has only a faint trace of magical energy. Just as he suspected, the disease might be caused by a deficiency of magical energy. Cole realizes that Xion is considering giving the patients magic energy and gets angry, accusing him of wanting to experiment on them by force. Xion quickly refutes this, explaining that transferring magic and magical interactions are 2 different things. This time, he will simply infuse them with magic energy. They will only feel some light or warmth. Cole questions the benefit of this, arguing that if the patients lack magic energy, it won't help them. Cheyenne responds that if they never had magic energy in the first place, then there would be no benefit. However, lethargy disease affects those who once had magic energy, so this might not be meaningless, especially for those with mild cases. Cole acknowledges the logic behind Shion's reasoning. He then recalls how the patient reacted when Shion attempted to use magic on him. His pulse slightly increased, his eyes moved rapidly, and even his fingers twitched. While Shion was transferring magic, the patient's fingertips reacted as well. However, Shion is unsure whether this was a healing response or something else entirely. Cole tells him that their best course of action is to monitor the patient for a longer period and gradually increase the amount of magic energy provided. Cheyenne realizes that Cole acknowledges his methods in treating the patients, meaning there could be some benefit in continuing the experiment. Just then, a nurse arrives, and as Cheyenne tries to discuss magic, Cole quickly changes the subject. Afterward, Cole warns Cheyenne not to openly talk about using magic to treat lethargy disease in front of others. The doctors are dedicated to studying conventional treatments, and if Cheyenne claims he has found a cure, it will attract the attention of the medical community. Some might even try to obstruct their research. Before revealing his ideas to anyone, he must carefully consider what he should and shouldn't say to protect himself and others. He shouldn't expose his true thoughts so easily. Cheyenne thanks Cole, appreciating his kindness and the way he always thinks about the patients. Cole simply responds that, as a doctor, it's only natural for him to prioritize his patients. Later that night, Cheyenne visits his sister and holds her hand, intending to test his magic on her. However, he quickly stops himself, realizing he shouldn't rush things before the results of his experiments become clear. Meanwhile, Brigitte and Ravina are engaged in a battle against the monsters. After defeating them, Xiong attempts to use his magic on the fallen creatures, but even the smallest amount of magic burns them completely. Their reaction is different from that of humans. Brigitte remarks that they might learn more if they test a larger dose on a human. We then see Ravina delivering the final blow to the last monster in the battle with ease. She comments that she hadn't expected a trap from the monsters in this place. It's a mysterious trap, so they must be cautious. As Ravina prepares to leave, Cheyenne stops her, insisting they aren't finished testing on live bodies yet. Cheyenne then returns to his sister's room, where Rose brings him a bowl containing fish for another experiment. When he attempts to use magic on them, they are unable to withstand the energy. Rose speculates that he must have released too much magic at once. Cheyenne admits that he did, but despite this, the trout remain unaffected. He wonders if magic could purify monsters but not trout, or if there could be a different kind of reaction at play. Rose, understanding that observing magical interactions requires a human subject, volunteers herself. She is the only conscious person with magical energy and will do anything to help cure Mary. Shion agrees to test his magic on Rose, but firmly instructs her to speak up immediately if she feels any pain or difficulty breathing. She must never endure it in silence. The most important thing is to identify any specific changes that occur. Shion begins the magic experiment and asks Rose if she feels anything. She replies that she feels a slight warmth. He increases the magical energy, but Rose still feels fine. Suddenly, she starts to feel her body growing slightly warmer. Shion continues counting and then informs Rose that this is the maximum amount of magic he can transfer at once. Prolonged energy transfer weakens him, so he wants to test transferring a small amount of magic energy over a span of 10 minutes. Rose agrees, and he takes her hand, reminding her to tell him immediately if she experiences anything unusual. Rose reassures him that she'll be fine. However, Shion hesitates and then tells her that next time he will have a doctor present to oversee the process. Having an expert with him would be much better. The scene shifts to Shion outside with his friends. He mentions that a month has passed since that night, and they haven't encountered any danger since. However, they still don't know if Wraith will reappear. He also finds it hard to believe that lightning lamps are actually working. Then, Shion turns to Brigitte and asks about the monsters in other territories. She tells him that nothing has changed. There haven't been any reports of new monster sightings. Shion is puzzled because Wraith has yet to appear. Bridget explains that Wraith first emerged after the Ligray War. 1,000 years ago, all the nations united to fight against the demons in what became a legendary battle. The meaning of Ligray remains unclear. Some say it was the name of the leader who commanded the alliance against the demons, while others believe it was the name of a country that disappeared after the war. The scene then transitions to the castle, where the king is writing a letter summarizing their discoveries regarding lethargy disease and the new monster that has appeared since then. Day 90. The process of transferring magic energy to mild cases has been carried out. The confirmed results include eye twitching, slight reflex responses, finger tremors, and mouth movements. This can be considered significant progress. Day 135. It has been confirmed that transferring excessive amounts of magic energy leads to lethargy disease It is now suspected that the disease is not caused by a lack of magic energy, but rather by a reaction to receiving too much of it. Day 210. It has been confirmed that a person's own magic energy gets replaced when they receive magic from another person. Day 209. Shion's magic energy is being depleted frequently, and he is searching for a way to increase his magic reserves. Day 350. No progress. Day 382. Still no progress. Until now, no further breakthroughs have been made. All they can do is hope that Shion can achieve results. They are still unable to confirm Wraith's presence. The scene shifts again to Shion, who is checking on his sister and the other patients. One of them shows visible improvement, and his wife tearfully thanks Shion for his efforts. Later, Shion is with Cole, who advises him to take a break since he has been pushing himself too hard. However, Shion insists that he's fine. Outside, we see Ravina and Brigitte walking together toward the house. When they arrive, they are warmly welcomed by Shion's mother and Rose. Shortly after, Shion's father arrives, and the whole family sits down to enjoy a meal together, sharing a rare moment of happiness, except for Maria, who is still absent. Noticing how exhausted Shion looks, his father suggests that he rest for a while, warning that if he continues like this, he will drain himself completely and won't be able to heal his sister. However, Shion reassures him, explaining that he has been researching magic all this time and has refined it to this level. To him, this isn't difficult. He fully intends to dedicate his entire life to studying lethargy disease. He vows to save not only his sister, but everyone suffering from it. Later that night, Shion sits beside his sister, holding her hand. He whispers to her that he will never give up. He will save her no matter what. But suddenly, something happens outside. Alarmed, Shion turns to Rose and urgently asks her to protect his sister. He rushes outside and is immediately met with a familiar sight. The same mysterious light he saw that night. As he looks up, his eyes widen in shock. Countless fairies fill the sky, glowing brilliantly in the darkness. And with that, today's episode of this anime comes to an end. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest episodes. Shion was at his sister Mary's house, taking care of her when he suddenly sensed something outside. Grabbing his lantern, he stepped out to see what was happening. A red light filled the area. It was the same ominous glow from the Night of Threats. His heart pounded. That night hadn't occurred in 2 years. Would it pass again, or was this just the beginning? As he processed the situation, 2 guards walked by, chatting about food. From their casual conversation, Shion realized they were unaware of the danger. Suddenly, right in front of them, the same ghostly figure that had appeared to him before emerged. Without hesitation, Shion lunged at it, trying to strike. The guards, utterly confused, saw nothing and had no idea what was happening. Wasting no time, Shion rushed to Duke Balf and reported what had happened, warning him that Historia and its people were in grave danger. The Duke's face tensed with worry, but there was no choice. They had to act immediately. He ordered the guards to increase patrols at the checkpoints, station more soldiers along the walls, and have the gatekeepers prepare lightning lamps. He also commanded the summoning of the Defense Corps and the distribution of special lamps Shion had designed, which were stored in the designated warehouses. However, Shion expressed his doubts. "I don't think the lamps alone will be enough to defeat the Wraiths. It might be best if I join the fight as well." Duke Balf nodded. "If we survive this crisis, we'll come up with a counter-strategy. For now, join the assembled defense units and help repel the Wraiths. You'll report to the Defense Corps and fight under the command of Lund." Shion immediately sought out Lund to prepare for battle. However, Lund was furious. "First, Balf forces those useless lightning lamps on us, and now he's interfering again. The soldiers are already gathered for no reason because of him. They're all angry. Those lamps are pointless. Normal torches are more than enough. The weather's clear. We don't need lightning lamps. And now he wants us to fight some invisible monster that doesn't even exist?" Shion stood his ground. "The Wraiths are real." Just then, Ravina arrived, addressing Lund. "We haven't been assigned an area yet. I'd like the 75th Royal Guard Battalion to be stationed." She then noticed Shion and narrowed her eyes. "What are you doing here?" Before he could answer, 2 guards, Dave and Huey, stepped forward. They were the ones Shion had saved earlier. They thanked him for his help, but Lund scoffed at them, dismissing their words. "Go home and sleep. There's nothing to worry about," he sneered. That was enough for Ravina. She snapped at him, her voice firm. "No one should be resting before this crisis is resolved." Shion stared at her in surprise. "Wait, you're the commander of the 75th Royal Guard Battalion?" She informed him that she had been appointed to the position just a few days ago. The previous commander, along with some soldiers, had resigned after growing tired of being assigned only secondary tasks. Ravina had taken the initiative and declared herself the new leader. Lund scoffed. "I don't care what you do. Do whatever you want." Ignoring him, Ravina turned to Shion. "We're counting on you now." The guards then requested her orders, eager to act. Meanwhile, at Mary's location, her mother and Rose were by her side. Rose gently suggested that Mary's mother take a break, so she could continue looking after Mary later. "I'm sure Cheyenne will be fine," she reassured her. At the clinic, Cole was still working when the doctor advised him not to overwork himself. "We'll have to wake up early tomorrow." Back with Ravina and Shion, they were heading toward the Wraith's last known location to assess their movements. Though Shion had distributed lightning lamps to all units, deployment across the city would take time. Since they had more mobility, they decided to head to the most critical point, the main gate. From there, they would be able to see both inside and outside the village, and spot approaching wraiths from a distance. Just before reaching the gate, Shion suddenly spotted 5 wraiths inside the city. "We need to go down and fight them," Ravina said. "They're moving," Shion countered. "If we stop now, we'll lose precious time. We need to keep going." Upon reaching the main gate, Shion effortlessly used his magic, flying outside the city. The guards stationed there were shocked to see him. "Leave now," Shion commanded. "The creatures are right here." The guards looked around in confusion. "What are you talking about? There's nothing here." Without wasting time, Shion cast a magic light spell, revealing the wraiths' forms. Then, with another spell, he swiftly eliminated them. The guards stood in stunned silence, their eyes wide with disbelief. "Who are you?" one of them finally asked. "I'm from the 75th Battalion," Cheyenne replied, acting under Duke Balf's orders to exterminate these invisible creatures, the wraiths. Shion then looked toward the distance, and his heart sank. A massive horde of wraiths was approaching. He immediately flew up to the top of the main gate to get a better view. "I can't see them," Ravina said. "Can you?" "There are hundreds of them," Shion replied grimly, "and they're heading straight for Astoria. We have to stop them somehow." Without hesitation, he transformed all the flames nearby into magical light, slowing the wraith's advance. "Now you and the others should be able to see them," he told Ravina. Her face lit up with determination. "Perfect! Now we can fight them properly. We are the 75th Royal Guard Battalion," she declared, drawing her weapon. "We will protect this place to the death." But the guards around her hesitated, fear gripping them. Could they really face such terrifying creatures alone? "We only handle side missions anyway," one of the guards muttered bitterly. Shier clenched his fist. "I'll handle this," he reassured them. At that moment, his mind flashed back to his training in magic. Maybe my reincarnation in this world and my magical growth were all leading to this moment. Then, the cursed creatures surged forward. Shion readied himself, unleashing a barrage of powerful magic attacks. Ravina joined him, striking at the monsters. "I won't let you fight alone," she declared. They fought side by side, cutting down enemy after enemy, until something strange happened. The magical flames extinguished. One of the creatures lunged at Ravina. A guard tossed her a sword, and she caught it mid-air, slashing the monster down before rallying the others to keep fighting. Meanwhile, Shion kept blasting spells at the beasts. That's when he noticed something odd. "No matter how much magic I use, I'm not feeling exhausted like before. My mana isn't running out at all. Is this because of the Night of Threats?" he murmured to himself. Since that night, cases of magical overexertion had been spreading, people collapsing from an imbalance of their own mana. If that's the root cause, then I have to survive this battle today. Then he saw it. The fairies. They were sacrificing themselves to extinguish the magical flames. Shion's expression hardened. He gathered an immense amount of magical energy and unleashed a devastating blast upon the cursed creatures, wiping them out in an instant. But then, an even larger horde emerged. "Fall back," Shion commanded. "Protect yourselves. I'll handle this alone." Just as he was about to charge in, Grast appeared, along with Brie and a group of adventurers. "Looks like you could use some backup," Grast smirked. The battle raged on. Fire spells illuminated the battlefield as magic and steel clashed against the relentless wraiths. Shion and Ravina fought at full force, and with everyone working together, they finally eradicated the monsters. But just as the dust settled, a furious voice rang out. "What the hell are you all doing here?" It was Lund. He stormed toward the adventurers, glaring at them. "They were here to help us," Ravina snapped. "Without them, we wouldn't have won." Lund's expression darkened. "I don't care. Guards! Arrest the adventurers and throw them in prison." But then, Lund's body suddenly lifted into the air. Someone was pulling him up. A sinister presence loomed above, and in the blink of an eye, Lund was dead. The villain looked down at the shocked warriors, a cruel smile on his face. "I've returned," he sneered. "And this time, I'll kill every last one of you." What will happen to Shion and the others? Can they protect the city? Find out in the next episode. But before you go, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. The episode begins with Shion and the townspeople after they had slain many of the wraith beasts. Suddenly a demon appears, one that hadn't emerged for a long time. Shion quickly realizes that this demon is the source of everything that has happened. All the magical energy that had been present was actually residing within him. The demon mocks them, saying they must have come all this way just to welcome him. He finds this quite considerate, especially since they are mere humans. When they ask for his name, he refuses to answer at first, instead chastising them for being rude, asking for someone's name without first introducing themselves. However, he then tells them that he is a demon and that his name is Ainswelf. The townspeople are shocked, as no demon has appeared before them in ages. Ainswelf had been sealed away for a very long time, and now that he was free, he decided to kill them all. The guards attempt to fight him, but he uses his immense power to destroy a portion of the city, causing many civilians to fall to the ground. At that moment, Xion tells Bridget and Ravina to flee immediately. They stand no chance against this being. He explains that the Wraith Horde that appeared during the Night of Threat was merely a harbinger of this monster's arrival, and that the real battle is only just beginning. Just then, Lord Grast arrives and asks Xion about this man. Xion admits that he still doesn't know much about him, but the area around him is overflowing with magical energy. His power is tens of times greater than Xion's. Grast then orders the girls to find a safe place, insisting that he will kill the demon himself. The girls try to stop him, but Grast is determined. He cannot simply stand by and do nothing. He cannot face it. So he demands that Xion stand by and do nothing. Meanwhile, Ainswelf mercilessly slaughters the townspeople as if they were mere insects. Seeing this, Xion resolves to fight him. If he remains silent, everyone in the city, including his mother and sister, will die. Grast asks Xion to help him, and Xion agrees, explaining that he is the only one who can see Ainswelf's magical energy. Grast accepts this and tells the girls to focus on evacuating the townspeople. Ravina decides to go and rescue Dave and Huey so they won't suffer the same fate as the other guards. The girls hurry to evacuate the city while Xion and Grast discuss their strategy. Xion plans to confront the demon directly, while Grast circles around and strikes him from behind. This is their best chance to win. Xion is the only one capable of dodging Ainswelf's attacks. Grast urges him to be careful, warning that if anything happens to Xion, he won't be able to face his family. As Ainswelf continues his rampage, burning down houses and slaughtering more people, Xion uses his power to extinguish the flames. This catches Ainswelf's attention. He now realizes that Xion possesses magical energy, just like him. Focusing on Xion's face, Ainswelf begins to suspect that he may be a descendant of the Legrees, as he bears a striking resemblance to them. Xion couldn't understand what Ainswelf was talking about at all. The demon then told him that this was something from 1,000 years ago. Without further delay, Ainswelf decided to kill Xion, knowing that his magic was primitive and useless against him. Xion, determined to fight back, unleashed his power and struck Ainswelf, but nothing happened. The demon retaliated, striking Xion hard and sending him flying. Without hesitation, Ainswelf then cast an incredibly powerful spell aimed directly at Xion. Panic surged through Xion. He had no idea what to do. There was no time to think, and if he didn't act, everyone would die instantly. At that moment, memories of his loved ones flashed through his mind. His family, his friends. He had to save them, no matter what. Meanwhile, at the clinic, Cole was overwhelmed as injured townspeople poured in, seeking medical attention. Confused, he asked one of the wounded what was happening. The injured man gasped. Suddenly, someone terrifying appeared. He slaughtered people and turned the entire place into a sea of fire. Cole's face turned pale with worry. His thoughts immediately went to Xion, where Ravina gathered the townspeople, calling out, "A fire has broken out near the main gate. Move to a safe place immediately." Bridget then added, "Follow me to the next area." Just then, Dave and Huey appeared, their eyes lighting up with relief when they saw Ravina. "You're alive!" Huey exclaimed. Ravina quickly asked, "Where's Xion?" Dave shook his head, his expression grim. "We were trying to escape with everything we had. We didn't see anything. That thing, it's a real monster. I don't even know if Xion stands a chance." Determined, Ravina turned to them. "Then evacuate the entire city. I'm going to help Xion." Bridget immediately tried to stop her, fear evident in her voice. "Wait, it's too dangerous." Ravina placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry. We'll come back alive." The scene shifts back to Ainswelf, who launches another attack at Xion. This time, Xion intercepts it and counters with his Earth Collapse spell, causing the ground to shatter beneath them. Wasting no time, he follows up with an Aqua Bolt strike. But to his horror, Ainswelf nullifies the attack effortlessly. Xion's eyes widen in shock. "I get how he used that flute to neutralize water, but I thought electricity didn't exist in this world." His mind raced. "But if lightning touches air magic with insulating properties, it dissipates," Ainswelf smirked. "An interesting little trick. But all magic has opposing properties. That includes the water and lightning you just used." He tilted his head, unimpressed. "I'll admit, you figured this out on your own, But what you've achieved is just the most basic foundation. For us, at least. His gaze darkened as he continued. And it seems you can't even conjure fire or lightning without those tools of yours. You're just a beginner. If you want to win, you need to understand the deeper logic behind the elements. A wicked grin spread across his face. Your little show was entertaining, but it ends now. Just then, Grass charges in and attacks Ainswolf, but Ainswolf strikes him with magic, sending Grass flying. Just then, Shion's father charges in, slashing at Ainswolf with his sword. The demon's expression darkens with rage. Do you really think a mere human weapon can kill me? Ainswolf sneers. Shion clenches his fists, speaking to himself. I couldn't even cure my sister's illness. But even if I die here, no matter what, I have to kill this monster. Ainswolf chuckles, clearly amused. You're truly fascinating. Even in this state, you're still searching for a way to defeat me. You're suppressing your fear, and your eyes tell me you're ready to fight. As expected from the bloodline of Lowkey, I suppose. His smirk widens. That fighting spirit, that resilience. Your strength isn't bad. He suddenly extends his hand towards Shion. I'll make you my servant. My followers gain long life and immense power. Of course, you'll lose all sense of self and become nothing more than my puppet. Before Shion can react, Ainswolf grabs him by the throat, lifting him effortlessly. Don't be afraid. This will all be over quickly, without pain. Then, he sinks his fangs into Shion's neck. Shion's body tenses. His strength fades. He can't fight back. Is this the end? But suddenly, something unexpected happens. Ainswolf recoils, eyes wide in shock. His body trembles as he gasps. The blessing of the fairies? Those cursed traitors. They still dare to interfere? He staggers backward, clutching his chest. This tainted blood, it's spreading inside me. Ainswolf roars in fury, attempting to summon his magic to kill Shion once and for all. But then, Ravina arrives just in time. Ainswolf's power weakens. Seizing the opportunity, Shion and the others attack. With the last of his strength, Shion unleashes his magic, striking Ainswolf with everything he has. The final blow lands. Ainswolf lets out a monstrous scream, and finally falls, defeated. Shion, breathing heavily, stares at the fallen demon. He was so strong, he mutters. He clenches his fists. That's why I never bothered to search deeper into magic. No matter how much you try to understand it, he exhales, exhausted. In the end, if you unleash magic energy onto flame magic, horrible things happen. His body sways. He's completely drained. I have no magic left. I can't keep going. A faint smile forms on his lips. It looks like we get to live another day. And knowing that is enough. I'll see my sister again. And with that, Shion collapses, unconscious. And so, today's episode comes to an end. Stay tuned for the next episodes. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates. Our episode today begins with Shion having a very intense nightmare. He wakes up gasping for air, shaken by the terrifying dream. His mother rushes to him, embracing him tightly. "My dear, what scared you?" she asks, relief washing over her face. "But I'm so happy you finally opened your eyes. You've been unconscious for over 2 days, as if you were in a deep coma." Shion realizes that his supernatural abilities must have been the cause. Soon after, his friend, the doctor, arrives to examine him. He's completely fine, the doctor reassures his mother. He was just unconscious for a long time, sleeping the entire time. Not long after, Mr. Gorst and Shion's father come to check on him as well. They express their relief that he's okay. Then his father sits beside him and starts explaining what happened. "When you left the village of Froma, the Wraiths appeared that same day," he says. "The Wraiths, those evil creatures, had emerged. But thankfully, we arrived just in time." Shion recalls something about his father, how he had lost his hands in battle. "This just proves that unity is strength," his father continues. "If we hadn't stood together, we never would have defeated them. And above all, we owe it to you, Shion. Your incredible power is what led us to victory." As Shion asks about everyone's condition, the doctor responds, "Nerina and Brigitte only suffered minor injuries. As for Marie, she's completely fine, thank goodness. But during the 3 days you were unconscious, the damage was devastating. The number of casualties reached around 420 people. Shion is deeply saddened, but the doctor reassures him. "Don't blame yourself, my friend," he says. "Without you, the entire city could have been doomed. You should be proud of what you achieved. You managed to defeat that cursed demon." At that moment, something strange happens. An intense energy radiates from Shion. A brilliant light of power bursts from him, shocking everyone in the room. Then, just as suddenly, it fades away. Shion turns to his father. "I want to see my sister," he says. They take him to her, and he examines her carefully. Determined to heal her, he refuses to give up. "Every illness has a cure," he mutters. Then he realizes something. His power has increased exponentially. The energy surge earlier wasn't random. It was his true strength awakening. He focuses his power and directs it toward her, almost like an electromagnetic force. Seconds pass, then more, and suddenly, Mari's fingers twitch. She mumbles faintly. Xion keeps counting, waiting anxiously. More time passes, and finally, Mari fully regains her energy. Tears stream down her face as she speaks for the first time in over 3 years. For years, she had been suffering from extreme lethargy. Silent, unmoving, almost lifeless. And now, she speaks. Everyone bursts into tears. Xion cries as well. What he had just accomplished was nothing short of a miracle. A week passes, and Xion, alongside Dr. Cole, successfully heals all those suffering from lethargy and hysteria. Many people express their deep gratitude for what he has done. Then, Xion, along with his father, mother, and Gratos, goes to meet the king. The king greets him with a smile. "Congratulations, Xion. You are very intelligent, so I'm sure you've noticed certain things. I'm here to answer all your questions." Xion's first question is direct. "Who am I?" he asks. "I've become obsessed with something unknown called magic. It just came out of nowhere. My father accepted it too easily, too quickly. Mr. Grast almost exposed my truth, but my father silenced him. And you, Your Majesty, you listened to me when I spoke about the lethargy disease and the wraiths, even though I was just a child at the time. I never used magic in front of you, yet you believed me without any doubt. As if you already knew that magic existed." The king stays silent for a moment before turning to Xion's parents. "Sir Gawain, Lady Emma, do I have your permission to reveal the truth?" His father sighs. "It's fine, we can't keep it from him any longer." The king then speaks. "Xion, you are a descendant of the Ligri." He begins to tell the truth about the Ligrith people, how they once stood beside humanity 1,000 years ago. They were fierce warriors who fought valiantly in the war against the demons. With their crimson hair and red eyes, they wielded a strange power known as sorcery. 1,000 years ago, the Ligri sealed away the demons, the king continues. But in doing so, the demons cursed them with a deadly plague. It wiped them out completely, or so we thought. But everything changed 12 years ago, right here in the royal capital, Hurstia. Xion listens, his heart pounding. A woman appeared before Queen Laguso, carrying a child. She claimed the boy was a descendant of the Lijairiki, the only light capable of saving the world. She begged the queen to raise and guide him, or humanity would surely fall. The queen, however, was not convinced. If this child truly carried the blood of the Ligri, then he could be a danger in the future. So, instead of raising him herself, she entrusted him to her 2 old friends, Sir Gawain and Lady Emma. Xion turns to his parents. "Did my sister know the truth about me?" His father shakes his head. "We deliberately never told her. She knows nothing. To us, you were our son, and we raised you as such. We are so sorry, Xion," his mother says. "We should have told you sooner." Xion lets out a small, sad chuckle. "I already knew. I overheard you and father arguing about it once." He smiles softly, but honestly, "It doesn't matter. Even if we're not connected by blood, you are my parents. I love you both." Then Xion realizes something. If the Ligri people were truly wiped out, yet many know about them, some might try to use me for their own evil purposes. You were protecting me from those people all this time, weren't you? Everything suddenly makes sense. Why his father was always so strict about forbidding him from magical research in the beginning. Finally, Xion turns to Gratos with a piercing gaze. "I know you can use supernatural abilities because you're a Ligri. But tell me, how do you know so much more than everyone else?" Xion freezes in place, falling silent. 1,000 thoughts run through his mind. Should I tell them the truth? That I was reborn? That I came from another world? But at the last moment, he hesitates. Instead, he sighs and says, "I don't know. Maybe the woman who brought me here knows more about my past." Lord Balf nods. "You will soon receive an invitation from the queen." Later, Xion returns home to check on his sister. As soon as he enters, she looks at him with teary eyes. "I was so scared," she whispers. "Hold my hand, so I know this is real." She grips his hand tightly. "I was trapped in the darkness for so long, unable to move, unable to do anything. I was truly afraid, but the only thing that kept me going was your voice, and mother's, and father's. That's why I endured." The next morning, they leave Astoria and return home for the first time in 2 years. Xion's training in the forest. We then see Xion training in the forest, pushing his limits. Finally, after countless attempts, he succeeds in creating a new spell. He names it Boost. It's an incredibly powerful technique. Then, he recalls his last battle with that demon. The magical energy surrounding me acted as a barrier. absorbing the impact. Realization strikes him. His magic can form a shield. If he combines boost with shield, he can increase his power while protecting himself at the same time. Departure to the capital. The next morning, Xion stands with his family ready to leave. The queen's invitation has arrived. Everyone gathers to see him off. "Thank you all," he says, "for always standing by me in my hardest moments." His friends try to reassure him. "Don't be sad," his childhood friend says with a smile. "This isn't goodbye forever, just a short separation." One by one, his friends and loved ones wish him well. Then, Rose steps forward. "Let me come with you," she pleads. Xion shakes his head. "I won't be gone long. Besides, I need you to stay and take care of my sister." Finally, he turns to his sister, and they embrace with tears in their eyes. "When I get better, I'll come find you," she promises. As he steps outside, he finds an entire military unit waiting for him. Commander Goth Vals approaches. "We will escort you to the capital," the commander announces. At the last moment, Ravenna decides to join him. She climbs into the carriage beside him. Then Maria rushes forward and presses a pendant into his hand. "Take this, so you won't feel alone," she says softly. Xion takes the pendant, wears it, and for the first time in a long while, he cries. Maria smiles through her tears. "I believe in you, Xion. I know you'll save so many innocent lives." The carriage begins moving. Xion watches as his family and friends wave goodbye, disappearing into the distance. And so, this anime comes to an end. For more anime summaries, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to never miss a new video.